Hello, and welcome to Choices Global, a production of First Assembly of God, Wortmanville, Georgetown, Guyana. On this program, we curate and cultivate conversations pertinent to nation building. Our topic today will examine the economic levers that can boost Guyana's tourism products and cascade wealth to the ordinary citizen. We have a diverse panel of leaders who are all Guyanese, while some reside in the diaspora. With us is Dr. Myrtle and Raphael Messiah, CCH, an expert in transformational leadership and a member of several boards, both locally and internationally, including Vice President of the International Third World Leaders Association. We have Mistress Kim Stevens, a retired Deputy Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, Industry and Commerce for over 25 years. Our youth panelist, Mr. Martin Messiah, is a digital marketing consultant with a global footprint. We also have Mr. Kurt Corbin, Security Project Management and Administration professional residing in Geneva, Switzerland, as well as yours truly, Chevron Corbin, your moderator. Welcome, panelists. Today, as we frame the discussion on economic levers to boost the tourism in Guyana, we know that it currently contributes 7% of Guyana's GDP, compared with between 28 and 75% in the top 10 countries or top 10 revenue earners of tourism, five of which sit in the Caribbean islands, which means that we as Guyanese can definitely learn from our neighbors. We can also cast our eyes to oil rich Middle Eastern countries, given Guyana's recent oil finds, where they in the Middle East are already contemplating sovereign funds or have been managing them to secure the future of generations to come. They are interested in diversification, including expansion of non energy exports. In the Guyana context, that could mean tourism. And they are also contemplating expanding foreign direct investments. These are clear lessons that our nation can leverage as we examine tourism as one such key. Martin, the first question is for you. Which are the favored markets that we can target as Guyanese, and how can we access these markets with commitments over the next 5 years?
Well, that's a very loaded question, Siobhan, but thank you for having me here. With tourism, I think that Guyana has a very unique offering. And I think over the last, since our existence, our major target markets for tourism would have been Europe, primarily the UK, and also the United States of America. I think that most of our tourists come uh, from those locations. However, I also think that there are a number of emerging opportunities with people coming in from all across the world. We have more tourists coming in from North America now. We have a number of regional tourists who are coming over here now from the Caribbean, and even in Africa, and even in the, for example, in the Middle East, a number of persons are coming to Guyana now. Some of them are here to prospect, some are there to just have fun with their families or to really experience what this unique country has to offer the world. And what I would like to highlight is a great reason why many of these people come to Guyana is because they want to experience South America, but they're English speaking. So that's a very unique offering for Guyana on the international scale. And over the next 5 years, I think that by retargeting our tourism approach to focus on, some people might be a little surprised, but the local rising middle class, I think that there's a large opportunity for growth when it comes to that sort of retargeting. And in addition to that, I'd highlight over the next 5 years, what something that we could really focus on is our ecotourism. But it would have to be in a way that empowers local persons to be able to act within the industry. And this could be in the form of changing legislation to allow the ease of business through online payments. And another easy way or easy win for us would be to support local entrepreneurs within the tourism industry, especially when it comes to helping them to develop an online presence, since most of the tourists coming in from outside of Guyana will be searching for services online. So I think that we have a very exciting next 5 years ahead of us.
Awesome, Martin. Kim, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I would just like to follow on from what Martin said. He would have referred to markets outside of Guyana, but I'd like to let us know that there is a domestic market right here that is just waiting to tap into our tourism opportunities as well. And also leading on from what he said about the middle class that is waiting to benefit from all the different opportunities that tourism offers. We know for a fact that 2021 would have seen a very significant increase in domestic tourism. Persons were not able to travel, so they would have explored all that Guyana has to offer. Persons would have gone to Mainstay, Lake Mainstay, and other parts of Guyana, and statistics show that that also contributed significantly to our gains from tourism. So yes, the traditional markets, Europe, North America, but we should also focus or know that the domestic market also can be targeted. Um, Moving on from that, what are some of the things that we can or some of the areas for tourism for tourists? There are several new areas, and one which holds a lot of potential is the nature science tourism. Only I think it was a few days ago we would have seen that article from the National Geographic about the Guyana Shield. Well, just think about how much more universities and other research institutions, through partnerships with local counterparts, can accelerate tourism in those areas. Picture doctors and students coming down to our forest and examining all the different wildlife, all the different species, and so on. So there are lots of opportunities that exist. It's just for us to, as Martin said, make these things more attractive and more known. Put the information out there, so to speak. You might say that the information is already out there, but we need to structure it in such a way and look at forming
Awesome.
collaborations and coordination, so that we can get Guyana out there, more out there on the map, so to speak. I would like to
Wow.
stop at that point.
If I may, well, how about destination tourism, Kim and Martin? How about marrying both concepts? How about allowing our authorities to target more European and I would want to add Asian markets? I think the Asian market is a very big market. South Korea, China, and those nations in that area, they have millions of people in that area. And I think because of my experience traveling the world a little bit, they go all over the world. And I know we have a large Asian population as well in Guyana. So what about marrying both? What about marrying targeting more overseas or international visitors and also targeting our domestic market? It's called destination tourism. Why can't we bring persons from overseas and call and give them the five village tour? What do I mean about five village tours? A five village tour. Why can't we target five East Coast villages of historical value, historical significance? We know years ago our foreparents bought villages when they were freed as slaves. Why don't we develop the history of these villages and offer them as a tourist package? Five villages on the East Coast, five villages on the West Bank, villages on the Essequibo. Five, we can call them five villages tour, five town tours. We can go to Linden, we can go to Berbice, domestic and international. Persons who are living in Berbice can tour Linden. Person living in and vice versa. So we can marry both. Why don't we try that, Madam Moderator?
Shavana, can you allow me to jump in? Destination tourism. I heard you refer to the fact that plantations were purchased when Africans who were enslaved were set free. Now, when they were set free, they did not purchase they did not purchase villages. They bought plantations. They bought lands that the plantation owners had no more use for them. It was not economically viable for them to maintain the land. And we have sufficient evidence that some of them, the plantation owners, planted things like anti-desmond that would create havoc for whoever would own the new owners to cultivate. But the creativity and innovativeness of those freed men and women. I like the idea of the five villages, beginning with the village of Victoria. If Victoria Village, with the experience and the historicity of that village, if it had been in Israel, that would have been a prime location for tourism, because what the tourism product that they have to offer could inspire not just folks from Hong Kong and Taiwan and South Korea, like you suggested, Kurt, but folks from India and across the entire Caribbean. So the we give to the region the village movement, and this is a unique product that we have. I'm going to make a comment about creativity shortly, but I like the idea of the five village tours.
Awesome, Dr. Messiah. I believe that what you as panelists have done is framed how we can access revenues from specific markets outside of Guyana. And I love the fact that Kurt mentioned the Asian market because let's be real, who are the largest economic power right now? And we who live in Europe, we have seen Asians coming not in ones and twos, but by busloads, meaning you see groups of between 50 and 100 persons, and they're being taken on walking tours, on boating tours, on bicycle tours, and of course on the common hop on, hop off bus tours that we would often see in Europe, traveling to places like Paris and Barcelona and Madrid, to name a few. The comments from you, Dr. Messiah, on the work that was done at the community level as our foreparents purchased these plantations. I believe it is the kind of empowerment that we need to leave with our viewers as we contemplate tourism on a larger scale going forward. Maybe we can turn to another idea, and this is again looking at the role of foreign direct investments and the way that we can manage this to boost our products but also to ensure that we maintain local control. Meaning that when you bring in hotel chains and travel agents, how do you benefit and transfer their expertise so that local ownership is the end result? Comments, thoughts from any one of you?
Well, I can highlight that one of the best things about foreign direct investment, especially from persons who are companies that have experience dealing with a certain clientele of customers, they really understand how to create experiences that matter and experiences that are memorable. And they also understand how to make a certain class of person very comfortable. And that is one of the greatest that's one of the greatest features of being able to bring in large international brands that are associated with five-star performance in brands that are in a lot of these highly competitive markets. For example, I can highlight that when I was in Dubai, they literally have not one or two hotels. Like Guyana, we have about three or four main hotels. I may even say 10 hotels, but in Dubai, there are tons of hotels that exist there, and all of them offer something slightly different, something slightly unique. I remember being in visiting one resort hotel kind of thing, where instead of walking around or taking a golf cart or something to move around, they built canals. Let me remind you, Dubai was a desert, and they have literal canals in some of these resorts where you're taking a boat and you're using a stick to move around. So when it comes to foreign direct investment, it allows you to be more creative because generally there's a lot of spending power that comes with foreign direct investment. And it also helps you to create experiences designed for persons who tour the world, for persons who have a certain certain tastes. So I think that was one of the other great aspects. And another great aspect when it comes to foreign direct investment is that it usually comes with not only financial benefits but also technological benefits. Some of these institutions use unique technology that helps them to curate very unique experiences. Some of this technology might allow them to, monitor the temperature within their room. Some of the technology might allow them to so design or to streamline how they want to eat. And these are things that locally our market is too small to really make viable. But once you reach a certain scale, every small aspect of an experience is exploited, it's refined, and it's made even more valuable.
If I may jump in there as well. Um, you mentioned at the beginning, Madam Moderator, about expanding what we have to offer. If I may jump in on foreign direct investments, studies in Europe, one recent study in science have shown that foreign direct investment, it for a nation, it assists tremendously in developing a nation and its technological offers and anything and most everything else that they have to offer, including tourism. The traditional ways and means, the traditional goods and services that they export, those goods and services are placed on the back burner. Tourism is the way forward currently. What do we have to offer and how can we offer it? It assists tremendously in a nation's GDP. And you mentioned GDP at the beginning, Madam Moderator. So we as a nation, we have recently found oil. And I'm going to be a little bit bold currently. Guyana, I'm speaking about. I'm going to say we need to forget oil. Wow, we just found it. We're now developing it. And I'm saying we can forget oil. Oil has a shelf life. Tourism has no shelf life once managed correctly. Persons can come and they can come and they can come and they can come. And like that, Kim mentioned, I think, in either in this program or a program before, that we raised 24 billion Guyana dollars in tourism in the year 2021. And in the year 2021, that was a COVID year where persons were more or less on lockdown. But yet still, for our GDP, we raised $24 billion in that limited capacity, in that limited window. Now imagine if we expand all that we've been sharing on this program and we be deliberate in our actions, be deliberate in developing a technological platform that harnesses everything, that harnesses everyone. You can stay right here in Geneva and you can access services in Guyana easily just by the swipe of a card. Imagine when you come, you have an ambulance not too far from you. You're on the East Coast, East Bank, anywhere, and there's an health center right there that is responsive to your health issues. Imagine everything has to work together for this to work. We can't have one aspect and another aspect. Imagine these things, and all of these contribute to our development as a nation. And I didn't mention anything about oil. Let us begin to think about diversifying. Let us begin to think about really using what we have and selling it more and accessing more market, bringing in more foreign direct investments, Madam Moderator.
After the investment, what happens? How are we gonna how are our people gonna benefit from all the foreign direct investment? Some of it must trickle down, as you said, Siobhan. So I'm thinking that there are lots of opportunities. Kurt would have mentioned the Five Village tour. There's a whole host of opportunities available. There's new burden trails to discover. There's armchair tourism. You stay from right there where you are in Switzerland and you log in and you're on a tour of Guyana, right? There's so many things that can be done, but I would just like to say that we will have to ensure that our people are prepared. Some of the foreign direct investment that can be used to develop and implement training programs to prepare persons for business or for tourism, um, to operate in the tourism industry then. It has been done before in other countries, and I'm going to use the example of India, where they would have used some of their gains from tourism to offer training programs to the local people, how to set up a business startup. Some of them would have received initial tax exemptions and things like that. So we have to examine ways or suggest ways that all of this can apply to Guyana. I know that There is a potential agreement that is currently being it's being fine tuned, where Barbados is going to train some of our tourism workers or people in the tourism service industry. There is also a plan to develop a tourism and hospitality institute in Guyana. All of these things are on the horizon. We have to find ways that we can bring them to the fore and just action them. There are also other suggestions. We have CPL coming up. I'm sure all of you would have seen the article where we're gonna have like about 3 matches here. But how do our local people benefit from the CPL tours? We should have had some type of system where our our artists, our handicraft producers, and so on would have been able to have a facility where they can display their products, sell their products on a year-long basis. Not only in spurts and stops and so on, but a facility somewhere. I want to call it a bazaar. Lots of times you travel and you go to other countries, there is a flea market or there is some other place where you can go and pick up little trinkets and so on as memorabilia from your visit to the country. We need a physical location where that can happen for our people. Those are some of the ways that I see wealth being transferred, or the foreign direct investment that we would have gained, some of it being transferred to our local people.
What you're describing is available in Guyana, but we need the infrastructure that will make the connection to bring
That's
the
right.
creativity from our 10 regions, the people from our 10 regions, to bring it to the bazaar, as you call it. In a former life, I had some dealings with the Guyana Post Office Corporation, and I am aware that there is a live bazaar. Yeah, I'm using your words, right there in Rob Street, that does a lot of uh, s- selling of straws and the creativity of the people. But if you go to a charity, if you go to where you have a market there on Mondays, and you go to some other places across the 10 administrative regions, you would be amazed with the creativity of our people. I got this idea in Europe and also in the Bahamas. I saw the Royal Bahamian Police Force, for example. They go down to the pier when the cruise ship comes in. They have when they have all these ships coming into Nassau and wherever else they go. And you know what happens there? The Royal Bahamian Police Force, they play in freestyle, calypso, whatever else they play. They are fully uniformed, and the tourists are just all around them, amazed. And it's one of the hot spots as they do that. I would like to see our um, Guyana Police Force band go down Regent Street on Saturday mornings and find a spot there and just entertain the people. We would be amazed. And you're talking about the money accruing to the ordinary people. We would be amazed what will happen as an offspring of that.
That is such an amazing celebration of local content. This is what you're actually capturing, Dr. Messiah. And if I reflect on our own experience, my experience not only living and working in Geneva, Switzerland, but traveling across Europe, there is an understanding of what they call artisanal value, meaning the artisans, meaning the local producers of content and craft and music and art. This is celebrated first and foremost. If you drive around Geneva, and this is to our viewers, you will see all of the brand name hotels, but just alongside them, you will see what they call boutique hotels, which are the local hotels owned and operated by locals. You will find all of the airlines coming. But you will also find that Swiss airline will always have the premier spots at the airport, at the gates, and so forth, while other offers you need to walk far and further to access the gates as you arrive at the park. And so, what Dr. Messiah and what all of you as panelists have been indicating is around celebrating and packaging the local content. And so, the final point of discussion I would want to raise is reflecting on a study by a particular think tank, or rather a legal think tank in global affairs, the Overseas Development Institute. And what they did was assess how tourism revenues have been trickling down to the poor. And in our context, I would like to say not only the poor, but also our middle class. And so, what that finding did is that, what the research was about, was going to similar countries or profiles as Guyana. They looked at Laos and Sri Lanka in Asia. They looked at the Gambia, Ethiopia, and Mozambique as other countries for that study. And what did they find? They found that while the lower, how do I say, the revenue trickled down to things like local transport and accommodations in a small portion, it obviously did not trickle down in terms of the airlines and the tour operators. And so they identified several issues that were impacting on this money trickling down. They spoke about, in some cases, the low quality of products, and we have an opportunity to standardize. They also spoke about the absence of online payment systems and cambios because tourists are coming from a place where they're not used to walking with cash. So I would like to hear your reactions on how can we address our infrastructure to ensure that the local product and local content is celebrated and earns the revenue that the ordinary citizen can benefit. Any one of you.
You said it. Standardization is key. Standardization. Remember, at one of our previous programs, I would have made reference to the green destination standards that all tourism operators are encouraged to adhere to. So when you are standardized, or when you adhere to standards that have been set in the industry, I think you will attract, that will cause you to benefit from lots of opportunities. There are opportunities for you to advertise in the magazines that target, like you said, Kurt, Asia and all of these other countries. There are so many different opportunities, but no one would want to pour money into an industry where standards are lacking, right? Tourists come from far and wide, and they expect to be given a certain level, or to receive a certain level of service. So once you would have signed on to those green destination standards and you adhere to them, you implement them at your facilities, be it Airbnb, the international hotel chains, wherever, benefits will come. Benefits are attached to doing that, right? That's my comment at this point. Kurt, you were going to
And
Martin,
jump in.
yes, I was going to say Martin mentioned at the beginning. I'm sure he's going to come back with something innovative again. But Martin mentioned at the beginning legislation. Okay, and as
Yeah.
we went on into the program, we spoke about foreign direct investment. Now, those two things, Siobhan, the moderator, those two things, legislation, as Martin began with, I'm not even sure we knew your question was coming. Legislation and foreign direct investment, that's the way to go. Now, when the authorities of the day decide to legislate correctly, well, not correctly, legislate for development, and we bring in those companies, one of the companies we have to bring in is a technological company. We have two major companies currently, maybe three, but for sure two. And we're not getting the services that we require, that the majority of the world is offering currently. So when we legislate, and we bring in, legislate means we have to give offers as well to bring in other companies. And this is where we also, and those offers, it must include employing locals. That, as you said, Siobhan, about having the wealth trickle down. Those offers must involve employing locals. Legislation bringing in foreign direct investment companies, in this case, technological countries, with the understanding that locals will be employed, money is being trickled down to them, and then when the infrastructure is there, other companies can come, bring the hotel chains, they can bring, what do you call it, the marketing companies, the tourists. We can even have domestic companies right there. But the infrastructure, the technological infrastructure must be there. When I come to Guyana, I must be able to access or to check the cafe next to me, the cafe next to the hotel, without having to leave the hotel and going downstairs to actually and walk to the cafe to see what they have to offer. That's where we need to go, Martin.
And when it comes to thanks, Kurt. When it comes to really targeting empowerment for those specific areas you're highlighting, Shaban, is all about literal empowerment. Give the people the ability to sell their services online, uh, to receive money online. That's the easiest way, because once people understand there's an opportunity there, it'll have like a multiplier effect. You know, in economics, they talk about these different multiplier effects where you give somebody $1 and then they mix it around and turn the $1 into $2. Is pretty similar when it comes to tourism and empowerment. And I'll even mention that you have organizations like Airbnb. People know Airbnb as the company that's like a cheap tourism something that, well, a cheap apartment or hotel stay or whatever, where persons are able to rent out their homes or rent out a room in their home to persons who want to stay, right, for whichever day or whatever. But a couple years ago, they came out with something called Airbnb experiences that allowed regular people to sell different experiences. And some of those experiences included bake bread with me. You know, I'll teach you how to bake bread. We'll spend 2 hours and I'll show you how to bake bread. Some of the other experiences, I'll teach you how to blow a flute. And the persons who offer these kind of services, they don't have $1 million in the bank account. They don't have any massive kind of savings or anything like that. It's regular persons who might have a skill passed down from their grandparents, or regular persons who live in a unique place, you know, who have, like, for example, some of them might have a creek in their backyard, and why not come and experience swimming with these different people. So it's all about figuring out ways or using strategies that empower these regular people. And the other thing I would highlight is that once empowerment does happen, a bunch of them are going to fail, but there are going to be some that are still successful. And it's all about creating enough opportunities there, providing finance, capital, the infrastructure needed to increase the possibility of success for these persons to increase and expand the tourism industry.
Amazing. Any other last comments? We've got 1 minute.
Farms.
No
Do
teachers.
you know
Farm.
farms? Do you know farms can be a tourist attraction?
Yeah,
Farms,
agritourism.
yes. We are a nation of farmers. We're very big into agri. Those same farms with those same animals, horses, cows, they are a tourist attraction. During the same 2021 Kim, as you mentioned earlier, we took our young boy to a farm. The nation in Geneva and most countries were pushing staycation, so you couldn't travel, but you had opportunities at home. So you can have gone to the farm right in your community or nearby, and the farmers are earning money. So not everyone, not everywhere was shut down, of course, with restrictions and limitations and so forth. But you could have gone to the farm. So yes, our farms have things to offer. Let us do what we can do as a nation, as leaders, to help our people. Moderator.
Thank you, Kurt. I think we can close on that note. And it reminds me, and may I share my own experience, that arriving in Geneva in 2013, one of the first things that our company did when we had a staff retreat was to take us to the vineyards to see how the grapes are grown. And then we were treated to, I would say, a 20-minute video or 30-minute on how the grapes are curated, how they are stored, how they are crushed, and how they are labeled to, document the year in which this wine was produced. And naturally, they then treated you to cheese and wine at the end. So I could just imagine us coming out of Blackbush Polder, out of the rice fields, and then offering them a lovely meal of rice with dal on the side and some lovely fried fish. But I will stop there and say that This was a very interesting program. And what we've been trying to do is to capture the finances and then draw it down a pipeline that falls at the community level where every Guyanese benefits. So I'd like to say thank you to our panelists. And as we seek to create conversations that shape the destiny of our nations, we thank you, our viewers, for joining this episode. Please keep in touch with us at faogw.org and our YouTube channel, Choices Global. Join us again on April 23rd for another episode. I am Chevron Corbin, your moderator for today, encouraging you to stay safe. This is Choices Global.